Today, my guest, you've seen across WCW, WWE. You may know him as the Sick Boy, Mr. Scott Vick. Scott, how are you, sir?
Good, sir. Yourself?
Well, it's Indiana and the weather's freezing cold, so it could be better.
Well, it's South Carolina and it's pretty cold here too, and raining. It's been that for the last 3 days, so it's probably not as cold as you are, but I don't know though.
So
I'm the one with the sweatshirt on, and you are in a t-shirt.
that's true. That's true. So, what got you into professional wrestling? What made you want to pursue this? Were you active in sports growing up, or what drew you into it?
I mean, the sheer the characters of all the guys. Born and raised in North Carolina, South Carolina, and I was huge. That's obviously was a huge NWA territory. So of course, the quintessential names on that are your Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Dusty, Nikita Koloff, Magnum. I mean, I can go on and on, but that was my initial as a kid, and just being mesmerized by these guys, and like, obviously the size, and it's like I think everybody, they kind of look at them, it's like those are superhero
Hmm.
kids, guys. I was a big comic book guy, so it was like kind of these guys are coming to life without actually, not Superman and can fly and bend still and things like that, but pretty close to it. And I don't know, I was just always captivated by that. And so that was kind of my initial, lock into the wrestling, and having me, have that appeal to it. And um, I can't say right out of the bat that was something I looked at and I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. I was a all kind of sports kid. I played basketball, baseball, football, soccer, and then honed that down to just baseball, football, and then eventually just football. And that was my sport. And that's the one that I was like, I want to go play in the NFL, and that was my goal.
How did professional wrestling, how did it come into where you were pursuing it? What made you finally just say, this is what I'm going to do?
I was at a WCW house show in Savannah, Georgia, my sophomore year in high school, and actually myself and Sean O'Hare, who we were buddies and went to the same high school. Which at that time though, Sean really had no interest in wrestling. He had just kind of started getting into like bodybuilding and mixed martial
Mhm.
arts and things like that. But um, the ring announcer Gary Michael Capetta saw us sitting there ringside at intermission and came up and introduced himself. And I mean, I was probably 6'2", 6'3", like 210 pounds, 205 pounds. Sean was like same height, maybe a little bit taller. Because I think he was like I think he was 2 years old. I think he's a senior. I was like a sophomore. Um, and he asked if we ever had any interest in wrestling. He said, I'm also a talent scout, as being a ring announcer as well. So met with him, and he had Sean wanted nothing to do with it. So he just was kind of. I was like, I'm cool. I want to hear what he has to say.
Mhm.
I mean, this is cool. And he wanted me to come to Atlanta after I graduated high school and train.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, look, man, I'm my interest is in football. When I'm good, go to college and NFL. I was highly recruited out of high school, and I was having colleges my freshman year contacted me. So I mean, that was my goal and my dream. And so he still gave me his card, and he said, whenever if anything ever happens, you change your mind, give me a call. So once my football career was done and I felt like I kind of maxed that out, I remembered I had his card, and it was when Nitro started hitting big,
Mhm.
like right there. I think that was like 90 95.
Mhm.
I don't know when that first show aired, when Lex showed up at Mall of America.
Yeah.
That whatever year that was, I really started to kind of get that bug, and I had gotten injured and stuff, so I was like kind of sitting there and thinking about it, and said, you know what, I'm just curious, man. I'm gonna call this guy and see if anything happens. And I called, and he was no longer with the company, but they told me to come to Atlanta anyways, and that's what sparked it.
So did you go to the power plant, I assume?
Yes. I knew of the power plant. They popped all those commercials.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and so, we kind of paid attention through the commercials. So we were kind of vague on a little bit on what it was. Um, but I had no idea that was going to eventually be what I ended up and went and did there. But went up and met with them, and they had moved the whole entire operation with WCW because that was '96 in the summer, start of the summer. They moved it to Orlando to get through the Olympics. And so it was kind of like dragging feet on stuff. And they were
Hmm.
like, oh, have me get in the ring and see how I could move and do some things. And they said, well, we have this, the power plant, we do a tryout and put guys through. You should do it. And I had no idea what I was getting in for. And so, yeah, I went through that and then trained through the power plant
So
from
how
there.
was the power plant for you? Was it as bad, not bad, but as tough as everyone says it was?
It was bad. It was tough. I mean, bad in terms of just well, the tryout.
Hmm.
Um, that was the worst. I mean, once you got past that, or guys got past that, um, it was different. So I guess it's almost like going into the military. You just go
Hmm.
through the boot camp and it's brutal. And once now you've proven yourself, you kind of accept it. It's very parallel in that sense. And but the tryout was just brutal. And I know they kind of designed it after a lot of the dojos in Japan, not quite on that level, but with that mindset.
Hmm.
And they just tried to kill you, and it was agonizing for 3 days, agonizing to go through. But then once you were past that, then it was just about just the training. And I mean, this the training is tough because you just bruised and battered from hitting the ropes. I mean, I had black and blue marks from up under my armpit all the way down my back into my butt and into my hamstrings from hitting the ropes
And
until my
you
body calloused up enough.
and
Yeah. So,
you still pursued it.
oh yeah, absolutely. I was like, once I made my mind up that this is what I want to do. Um, I just enjoy it. Like I mean, I always played around as a kid, buddies. We would all get together and put on matches in the backyard, and we'd try to emulate the scaffold match with Midnight Express and the Road Warriors, or I Quit match with Tully and Magnum, um, and whatever else,
Hmm.
and so. There was always that fascination, and it was thrilling to do that. So yeah, it was like I knew like this is where I'm supposed to be.
How long did you train at the power plant before you started working matches with WCW?
Not long. I did. I want to say. I mean, I wish I could give you an accurate on it, but
Hmm.
I wasn't down there long before I did the Lance Ringo. That was my first match with WCW on TV, and uh, maybe 6 months.
Do you feel like you were ready for that at that point in time?
Um, I felt like I was ready in terms of physically being able to do a match and go out there and have a good match.
Hmm.
Like psychology and as far as like really being able to lead a match or have knowledge of, certain things you do and you don't, and then all the etiquette in the back with the boys, things like that. I was so green, it was ridiculous. I didn't know. So I wasn't prepared in that way, but I was prepared physically. Like I could go have a match. I don't care who it was. I felt confident in going and having a match. I felt confident in the things that I could do.
Hmm.
Um, and I knew that everything was going to look good.
Hmm.
And of course, being that young, I mean, whoever's the vet in the match is going to control the match and where it goes. So I felt confident in that. I just didn't know at the time all the different levels that come into play in politics
Hmm.
and just the locker room etiquette and things. If you shake somebody's hand too hard, and it depends on who it is, they may think you're stiff. So it's like if you don't say hey to everybody or you're quiet, like I was very quiet, so I had
Hmm.
heat with a lot of people when I came in just because I was very quiet and kind of reserved and wasn't, the guy to come in and be outspoken and this. So had some heat with some major players early that was unbeknownst to me at the time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so all that I wasn't ready for, but I wasn't ready gear wise. I just had tights made.
Hmm.
And I had no wrestling boots. Luckily, like I said, I had the tights, so I wasn't ready in that aspect. I think I was ready mentally to go out and do a match
So
for sure.
how do we go from Lance to Sick Boy?
Raven was looking for guys, and I was good friends with Chris Canyon, and Chris was good friends with Diamond Dallas Page, and I became friends with Diamond Dallas Page. They all knew each other. They were friends, and Chris Canyon really pushed that because it's what really accelerated me in WCW at the power plant. He saw me down there working, and he introduced himself and he said, "Man, you're just way ahead of everybody else.
Hmm.
Come and work with us." And I went and started doing stuff with Chris Canyon, Ray Lloyd, who was Glacier, Billy Kidman, and Brian Clark, who was Wrath, and Adam Baum,
Hmm.
and a couple other guys, and we became friends and would hang out. And so Chris pushed me to Rave, and Rave came down and checked me out at the power plant. And he was like, "Yeah, it's exactly what You're a big kid. You can move. You can work." And that led me to Raven and the flock.
How, was that an easy transition for you to make?
Um, yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, we didn't have a lot of we weren't handed a booklet or
Hmm.
anything like here's what you need, or this is what we're looking for you to do. Uh, it was pretty much like you kind of knew it was a social misfits, a society grunge kind of look. And that's all that was really said to me. And I just was like, well, I had to come up with my look. And I knew, well, right now, because it was so quick, because I had like, when I found out I was in, I had like a week or two to get my look together because we were going
Hmm.
down to Universal Studios to do tapings. And it was just that quick of a process that it was like, I don't have a name. I don't know what kind of, and
Hmm.
of course everybody's like, oh, get Doc Martens and, take them in. They'll cut the sole off and put a smooth wrestling, sole on. And so I just kind of went down and I figured there's things that I liked, that I was like, okay, I'll obviously this character is going to have to grow and I can
Hmm.
maybe grow into it. But to initially start it, I'm just going to go with there's things that I like. So I'm just going to put that in. And I wasn't too far off from Rave and like the music he listened to and things like that. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of mirror that a bit, but I'll put my own little twist on things, like I love skulls and bones and things like that. So I found like a cool necklace made of like bones and it had some skulls on it. It's like a choker. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'll get that. And um, I'll do the flannel, or tied around the waist and keep it on. And then I started wearing some skin tight like shirts, just almost kind of what the Hardy Boys eventually
Hmm.
transitioned into. Um, I was like, you just kind of going with that and tried to make it up like in my head of what I thought it needed to be. So I had to really just on the fly, like come up with it.
How was it when you guys came together and you formed the flock? Because that was really, I think that's an underrated faction in professional wrestling.
Oh, without a doubt, I think so. I think there was so much more could have been done with it, and I'm not
Hmm.
trying to be biased in it. I mean, if I thought it was shit, I'd say it wasn't any like it was shit because they didn't push any of us.
Hmm.
I mean, everybody's
Hmm.
like, oh, so and so were jobbers and this, that, and the other, and it's like, well, that's not our fault.
No.
I mean, I always tell people, I'm like, and I don't want to talk for the rest of them. I know, Kip and other guys in rigs, they could all work and do all that. And I mean, I was like 25 years old in that thing, and I'd never wrestled, I'd never worked indies, I'd never done anything. And I'm like, if you want to take my early matches, which I only had my match on Nitro with Lance Ringo was like overall only like my second match in
Hmm.
front of a crowd. And then I think Chris Benoit was my third or fourth match ever in front of a crowd. And it was my third match on Nitro. And I hadn't done anything. I said, you want to take what I did in that, put that up against a Batista when they first worked?
Mm-hmm.
You want to put it up against a Lesnar? You want to put it up against Cena? You want to put it up in any of those guys that kind of came, they came a little after me, but
Mm-hmm.
not far behind. And you want to look at and compare? I think I was a little further ahead than a lot of those guys. They just got a different push than I did, being in a
Mm-hmm.
different company and a different opportunity. They came out of Ohio Valley, and WWF just pushed them
Mm-hmm.
coming right out the gate. And I knew my role, and I appreciate it, and I have no problem with it. And it was there to get Raven over, and it was his gimmick, it was his deal, and without him, I wouldn't have had it. So I'm not complaining at all. I just complain on the booking in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like really having the underneath strong. It's only going to make Raven stronger,
Yeah.
and they just jobbed us out to get him over. And so, yeah, I take issue sometimes. I'll read stuff and people are like, "Oh, Sick Boy's a jobber, they job or whoever," and it's like, you know, first walk a mile in my shoes before you start
Mm-hmm.
talking about doing jobs.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever anything that were you able to pitch stuff as a group to upper management, or was it just this is what we're doing and just deal with it?
Pretty much this is what we're doing. Rave had a little bit of sway with it, but not a
Mm-hmm.
lot because I don't. Eric Bischoff, I didn't like the Raven character, didn't really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I think unfortunately that's one thing that hurt it because it was a connection to the. I mean, I don't know, man. There was lots of rumors and guys talking, water cooler talk that we were taking some of the heat from NWO. Because I don't care what
Mm-hmm.
anybody says. You watch any of those old shows when we showed up and walked down ringside,
Mm-hmm.
we got booed out of the joint. I mean, people were throwing batteries at us, rolls of quarters. I got tobacco juice spit on me. We had heat, just,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one thing, and I can't confirm it, but that was one thing. And knowing the business, I wouldn't put it past
Mm-hmm.
somebody not wanting to push it because there had been talk that they wanted to try to do something. Again, I don't know if this is just hearsay stuff, but to have us go against NWO. But it's like you can't do that when you're killing all the underneath.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just to have Raven and Perry, the top guys that have any substance to them. It what can we do? And so, but I just don't think Eric saw it and saw the relevance and saw the culture of like the grunge movement and
Mm-hmm.
what was happening. Even though the grunge started at like, early 90s, it was still around and it was still prevalent. He just didn't get it. And he didn't get that dark character and he didn't see Raven as a top guy,
Mm-hmm. Was there?
unfortunately.
And I hate that. I hate that. It just seems like wrestling's different now. Like if they would focus on the talent like they did now, if they would had focused on the talent back then like they do now, I feel like a lot of more people would have had a longer career longevity wise.
I think so too. I think
Hmm.
it was, and it was well, I mean, it was such a crazy time because, I mean, both companies were battling,
Hmm.
for like the number one spot. And I was fortunate to be with WCW when they were their height, and then when I left and went to WWF, I was there through that Attitude Era, as as WCW was going down, WWF was skyrocketing, and it's like Rock was hitting. Austin
Hmm.
had already hit, but Rock was about Hunter was even coming even further out of the DX thing and going into his thing, and it just went into this whole other atmosphere. So it's like it was really cool being at both companies
Hmm.
at both of their peaks. And I think some guys kind of got caught up in the wash of
Hmm.
of what was going on, and you were having to compete at that time with a lot of guys
Oh
that were
yeah.
top draw guys,
Hmm.
and especially with NWO. I mean, my gosh, there were so many of them; it was ridiculous. And I thought it just to me, it's like seemed like it was just too big. It's almost like when a company becomes too big for their own good,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And so I think we were just kind of like this byproduct waste, leftover meatloaf,
Hmm.
you know, and uh, just underutilized. I think, my opinion.
I
People may
agree.
disagree, but I think so.
Is there any particular moments during your time in WCW that stand out more than others for you personally?
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, my match with Chris Benoit,
Hmm.
that was big for me because I looked at it as this is a huge opportunity. I'm working with the top guys in the company, and
Hmm.
just not that, but with the boys,
Hmm.
all the boys, regardless of where he was at on TV or how fans perceived him to be, or how the boys were like, that's a top guy, and it was, I mean, I it was after the match where Eric Bischoff came up and told me that I made my career that night, which ended up not being the case, but he said
Hmm.
it. And more importantly than that, Chris said he told Arn Anderson and Eric Bischoff, who were there, because Arn was the agent for that match. And Chris told him, said, I'll work him, I'll work Scott anytime, anywhere. And that was a big
Hmm.
moment for me.
Absolutely. So how did you get on WWE's radar? What made that? Did you reach out? Did they reach out to you?
You would have to go back prior to signing with WCW.
Hmm.
When I was working at the power plant and training, they were dragging their feet on doing a contract just because of being in Atlanta.
Hmm.
And because I think I got there like maybe like June. Yeah, yeah, end of May, June, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
Uh, and so it turned into December, and nothing had come about yet. They kept just whatever. We were just sitting down there training, and my roommate Matt Weesey, who went on to be Horseshoe and Luther Reigns in WWF, he said, "Let's go see my buddy Jack Doan, who was a ref in WWF at the time. They were doing a show in Daytona." So we rolled down to Daytona, and we were in the back, and Vince came up to us and said, "Are you guys workers?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, where are you at?" We said, "Well, we're at WCW." And he was like, "Are you under contract?" And we're like, "No, we're just training at the power plant." And he's like, "Well, I want to see some video on you. Will you send me like a match?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely." So we're like super like stoked, and so we actually went back to Atlanta and filmed at the power plant a match at their facility and sent it to New York. And they flew us up, and we met with Bruce Pritchard, and we did a little match for Bruce there at the TV studios, because they didn't have a developmental like
Hmm.
WCW. Not the WCW did. They had the power plant, but it wasn't like what NXT,
Hmm.
or what actually go back and say what Memphis Championship Wrestling was, because that was like a developmental for WWF, and then Ohio Valley, and then of course NXT with that, it just progressed from there. I think they had something in Florida that they
Hmm.
did too, even before NXT, because I think Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and those guys went through that, and then it became NXT, which is literally like a show, you
Hmm.
know. Uh, so they just had the in their TV studio where they had they had memorabilia in there, and there was tons of videos, and they would record stuff, all the pre-tape stuff or the voiceovers that they do for matches and shows in there, and they had a ring. And so we worked it, and Bruce was like, "We want to sign you guys." And so we both were like, "We want to go WWF."
Hmm.
Even though we've been training with WCW, we just both talked about it. And we're like, I feel like this is where we need to be. Even though they were really down at that time, because Stone Cold was the ringmaster
Hmm.
at that time. So it was really, they just were really bad there through like 93, 94, 95. For a few years it was bad. And so we get back to Atlanta, and I go to Diamond Dallas Page and just told him, said, "Look, this is what's up. They offer us a contract. We want to sign with it, but I just want to be professional, and because we've been training at the power plant. What should I do?" And he said, "Well, let me talk to Eric." And So Eric reached out and we had a meeting with him on a Monday at a Nitro, and he was like, "Well, I figure Vince is going to pay you this much. I'll offer you this," which was a good bit more money than what WWF was going to offer us.
Hmm.
But Matt and I were still like, we want to go WWF. It wasn't about the money. We just felt like in our gut that WWF was the route to go. But they never got the contracts to us. And this was on a Friday that we flew up there, and they're supposed to have the contracts on Monday or Tuesday. And
Hmm.
Eric said that our offer was good until Wednesday. Um, and so we reached out to Bruce on Tuesday and said, "Man, here's what happened." And I said, "We don't have any contracts in hand from you, but we have one right here,
Hmm.
and we want to sign with you." And he said, "Well, they should be there. Don't know what happened. We're supposed to FedEx them." And he said, and he was really cool because he said, to be honest, he said, if these contracts don't get there, you're probably better off signing with WCW right now. He said,
Hmm.
we're just in a tough spot. Things aren't good. He goes, go learn as much as you can there, and then you'll sign with us. So that was kind of my first into it. And then
Hmm.
with WCW, Terry Taylor was there and he was booking, and he was a big fan of my work, and he tried to push me as much as he could, and he left and went to WWF. And when I was sitting there looking at this on this ship that I saw was going to be sinking, which was WCW, I was like, I got to get out of here. And
Hmm.
they just when they split the flock, they just were jerking us, or at least jerking me around in terms of what they were saying they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And it was horrible. And I was like, this is just not looking good. So I called Terry, and because I'd also heard through Lodi from the Hardy Boys, who Lodi and the Hardy Boys were her friends, said that Jim Ross liked my stuff, liked my work. So it kind of gave me a little more, I'm like, I felt more like confident in going, hey, yeah, I definitely, because what Bruce said 30 something years ago might not still
Hmm.
be solid. And so I called Terry and I said, if I'm not under contract, I said, we're not having this conversation, but if we were, and obviously, if I'm not under contract, would I have a job there? And he was like, absolutely. And that's how that happened. So once I was done with WCW, I turned around, I immediately signed with WWF, and a cool little side that a lot of people don't that realize is like it was cool because it happened so fast. As soon as I got done and I got out of my 90-day of having to
Hmm.
wait to do anything, I negotiated that with JJ Dillon and got that taken out. I was getting paychecks from both companies for like 3 months, which was pretty awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Just like, yeah, the money's really good, but it's cool just to open up your mailbox and see Titan Sports and
Hmm.
a Turner with a check in there. It was kind of cool.
When you signed with WWF at the time, did they know what they wanted to do with you? Was the plan to put you on TV, or were they gonna send you to one of their developmental territories at that time?
When I initially signed, we didn't go in I flew up and met with again Bruce Pritchard and JR. I met with
Hmm.
Jim Ross and Bruce, and we really just negotiated a contract. They didn't say, oh, we got this in mind for you, or that, or this is what we're going to do. We just negotiated a contract, and that was it. I flew back home. Uh, and then it was probably 3 or so months later. Yeah, I think like 3 months later, they reached out and they were talking about wanting to debut me as Val Venus, a partner with Val Venus. And it was talks of like, oh, we want you to show up ringside with a bunch of girls
Hmm.
at Raw, and you're going to be like his understudy that ran him out of porn. And now you're here and you're going to tag with him, and you'll tag with him for a while, and then eventually you'll stab him in the back and go to singles. That's the only thing I got, and that wasn't right out the gate.
Hmm.
It was a little bit later where that was an idea, and then before I even really got started, they took him out and put him in right to censor because they were catching, at least from what I was told, just a lot of, and they were catching a lot of flack from sponsors and stuff for
Mhm.
some of the vulgarness of that character.
So after that didn't come to fruition, what did they were they throwing different ideas at you? Were you working dark matches, house shows?
Tons of dark matches, some house shows, a lot of dark matches, and we would have some ideas. And at that time, and I think the whole entire time while Vince was there, anyways, everything went through Vince.
Hmm.
So um, I remember talking to some of the writers, or they would come up and go, "Oh, we were thinking about this," and then it would go to Vince. And I know we did it like a couple of times, few times, maybe like a few times. And Vince was like, "I don't want to do that with him. Like, let's hold off, let's wait." And I was just doing dark matches. I was working Monday night, Tuesday night, and then if I had house shows, would do like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But that wasn't all the time. It was mainly just a lot of dart matches. But everything that they wanted to present, he didn't want to do. And then and like that went on long enough to where it got now the water started getting really murky because now there was rumors about him buying WCW.
Hmm.
And so once that happened, now I felt like I got put on the back burner a little bit. And then they did the last real character that they pitched. They wanted to put me, Big Boss Man, together with Big Boss Man, and I think it Bo Dupp. I don't know if you remember like the Dupp brothers. They
Hmm.
did a lot of dart matches and worked at MCW. I think it was, but I can't remember. It was two brothers, and one was Mike, and yeah, my memory is kind of shoddy on that, but so he had a bad situation happen at WrestleMania, and we were supposed to they wanted us to debut that Monday after
Hmm.
WrestleMania. I think it was like 21 or something like that, and uh, yeah, they canned it. And I was like going, why don't you just put somebody else in there? Just have me and Boss Man do it because they wanted me and Boss Man to be like Vince's Secret Service or Special Forces guys, almost like what oh God, what was Roman Reigns and
The
those guys,
Shield?
the Shield. It was
Uh-huh.
almost like that. Like we were going to be in like that kind of gear, and that's how it was pitched. But we are going to do like all the dirty work for Vince. So everybody he was having problems with, like Austin or Rock or anybody like that, we were gonna, we're gonna be those guys like the henchmen kind of thing. I was like, oh, this is cool because made, you know how
Hmm.
involved Vince was at the time
Oh yeah.
with especially with that stuff. And so it was like this could be really cool. And not only that, it's just getting on TV and getting that springboard into having a spot.
Hmm.
And so it was kind of disappointing that ended, and then with them purchasing WCW, that's when things just kind of started to fall apart. Because what they told us in a meeting that they were going to do in terms of what they saw this is our vision
Hmm.
for WCW, it didn't happen. It's supposed to be two separate companies. Shane was going to own it. Vince was going to own it. And it was like it was almost going to stay the same,
Hmm.
you know, as it had been. Like, Monday night, you had your Nitro and your Raw, and then you have your Thunder and your SmackDown. And he said, of course, some guys are going to cross over,
Hmm.
but we're going to keep it like that. And I think, to me, the biggest mistake is they never did that.
That would have been definitely a cool thing to see and experience, and it would have been good for. It would have made some stuff mean more, like with these
Yeah.
fantasy matchups.
Well, yeah, and it would have been one. I mean, of multiple things have been great for the fans, and I know as a
Hmm.
fan myself, I'm going, oh man, I don't know how into it they wanted to get, but you could put titles for titles on the line at the big
Hmm.
pay-per-views. Like,
Oh
how
yeah.
cool would it be at WrestleMania to have WCW heavyweight champion versus WWF heavyweight
Hmm.
champion, and say whoever wins that belt, they're going to keep it until the next big pay-per-view would be the next
Hmm.
up for the number one contender to vie against. It's almost like in football where you have, you know, uh, a big rivalry game, and it's like when you when you when you win that game, you get that trophy for the year.
Hmm.
You know,
Yep.
And it just eats at them that you've got that until you play them again.
Hmm.
Kind of like that. I thought that would be really cool, and you could do that with other belts, and you could do mixed. You could do some mixed. Only like to me, like because my gosh, it got to where it went to just be like 3 pay-per-views a year to a pay-per-view every freaking month.
Hmm.
So only on the big pay-per-views, to me, would the belts be on the line, and maybe you do special house shows where you have a mixture roster of WCW, WWF guys, because on house shows titles would switch hands.
Yeah.
So it's like, it'd be good dirt sheet stuff, and then it'd be you could put on TV that on the house show in in Greenville, wherever,
Hmm.
South Carolina, so and so dropped the belt. Now he's got it, and then somebody picked it back up. Yeah, to me, it's endless stuff you could do. And then as from the boys' standpoint, it would just be more opportunity for people to work.
Hmm.
Because
I agree.
when Vince took it down and stripped it down, he just really monopolized the business at that point, and it really choked out opportunities for guys to go other places other than to go overseas.
That's true.
And to me, it just hurt the business. You got to have those. To me, you got to have the two to compare, especially in wrestling. Because
Hmm.
that was such a huge thing. People tell me all the time, and I mean, I did it too. I'm watching Nitro, and then when it's a kind of crappy match, I flip it to Raw. Or
Hmm.
if it's a commercial, I flip it and want to see who's doing what, and it'll be like, oh, this show's looking way better. I'm going to watch it. That was a big thing,
Hmm.
and I think they could have still done that,
Oh yeah.
and ratings would have been through the roof, and they were going to benefit regardless of which company was over.
That's very true.
But
um.
what do I know? I was just a jobber in the block.
Oh, whatever. So we were talking about how they could have done the whole WCW WWE merger a lot better and where that left you on the back burner. So what was next after that what was going on during all that time that made you feel like you were on the back burner?
Just nothing was happening in terms of
Hmm.
where we're going to go. I wasn't getting any real feedback into any ideas or direction
And,
with me at the time. So
and they
yeah,
didn't
I mean,
offer you to be a part of any of it, during the invasion or anything like that, or any talks or
like you
anything.
would think, like I mean, again, just this is coming from a jobber, but you would think somebody would go, hey, like even before Jericho or any of the radicals came over, Perry, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. I was there, before they did as a WCW. I think I was the first guy to come over, before they purchased. Um, you'd think they'd make like do something where I was like a spy or something, and like
Uh-huh.
like to to be the guy that kind of set up that invasion
Hmm.
that they did, or use me in some capacity. You would think.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, not anything. I mean, me, that's how I would think, and maybe I should have been. And again, it was probably just me being so green. Um, in terms of not being more vocal and going, hey,
Hmm.
this is what I think,
Yeah.
and or hey, I got an idea. Let's. And I mean, I did. I threw some ideas out, and I couldn't understand, because they did come up, which I thought was kind of weird, and did ask me, hey, if you can come up, you got any ideas you want to do? And I mean, I pitched an idea to Stephanie because Stephanie was like kind of head of creative at the
Hmm.
time, and I thought, okay, I mean, I thought this was a good idea. I was like, let's do an actor,
Hmm.
because of what Hogan had done, what Piper had done, what Rock was doing, because Rock had just done like um, the Mummy
Yeah.
and those things, and so it was starting to get into more that Austin had done, and it was starting to kind of go that way, and I was like, why don't we do like I'm this B actor movie guy that was in Europe, right? Like this
Hmm.
action star. Obviously, he has a wrestling background, football background. I was just going to throw it all in the pot and go, he's got this background, so it makes sense, just
Hmm.
not some actor to come into wrestling. And I mean, I had it all worked out, and I mean, I printed it all out, and handed it to him and pitched it, and I was like, really cool. Where it's like, I thought it would be really good because you could sit there and go, I've got an agent. So now you got somebody else that you can involve. You can put somebody
Hmm.
else on this and give another person an opportunity to be like my agent. And, they're trying to get me like my goal is to come from the B movie action hero to mainstream America and be a movie star in America, but there's can't get me anything. But my agent is like, wrestling's the number one, number two show on TV. It's the next best thing. And of course I'm like, you're
Hmm.
kidding me? No. Like that big fat guy who puts his ass in people's faces. I'm like, no, that's what you want me to do. This arrogant, cocky, but I'm a crappy actor.
Hmm.
But in my mind, I'm really, really good. And of course, he keeps coaxing me, and then really laying the groundwork, going, "Oh, this is the opportunity," but it's just a stepping stone to Hollywood. Look
Hmm.
at look at look at look at all these other guys that have transitioned from wrestling, and you'll be on cable, and it's the number one show, and resist, and then finally, it's like I break down, and obviously come there, but I still am like refusing to really do anything. I'm like, well,
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like I could find guys to try to read scripts with. Like I thought it would open up the door for a lot of stuff.
Hmm. Oh
Like I
yeah.
thought for a good comedy, like somebody's in the bathroom trying to, pee or something and go in with a script, go, hey man, you want to read this script with me? Can you go over these lines? And they're like, who are you? And however they want to write it. I'm not a writer, but
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm like, I just saw a ton of potential there for something.
Hmm.
And my thought process would eventually be, I obviously I've been refuting this with my agent and going, I'm an actor, I'm a thespian, I'm a this, I'm that, I'm not a Neanderthal wrestler kind of thing. And and then once he tells me like I've signed you, like you're
Hmm.
locked in, you got to do this, and I'm like, oh my God, no, it'd be this the little scaredy cat baby hill, or hill that's the scaredy cat kind of, wimpy kind of hill at first. And do this, and he goes, well, like you're contractually obligated, you have to do it. And it's like, well, I'm not going to wrestle. And he's like, well, you have to. And I show up and I just get my tail beat all the time, and I kind of like just refuse to do it, but I have to be there. But I'm going to take the beating, and then eventually, I duck a clothesline, step under something, reverse it, and kind of start putting it together. But I'm still kind of like, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. And long story short, eventually it'll get to the point where my agent finds me that big break in Hollywood. And I look at him and go, are you crazy, man? I'm like a wrestler, not an actor. Like
And
I
they
thought
just,
that would for that time would have been really
oh yeah,
good. I thought
that'd
it
have
would
been
have been hot
entertaining.
for the company going, hey, um, you're pitching that whole thing of like, all I want to do is act. I want to act. I want wrestling's nothing. And then eventually you go, I'm a wrestler, man. And now all of a sudden I've been putting these matches together and I'm working and now this is what I do and I don't care about the movies anymore. But it never happened.
They just didn't. They weren't about it.
I don't know. I never really got anything back from it. I can't understand it because later on they did the Cheers Squad.
Uh huh.
I mean, and then even post all of that, Manitar. I mean, I can go on and on with the dumbass gimmicks that they've done. And I'm like, I thought this was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I thought there was some good merit there. That they, there's meat on the bone for this as far as I thought.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
And so that's just how it was with
That's
your
kind of
career
how it went.
there until what your did your contract expire? Did they release you? Did you decide you were leaving?
I got up to the end of to the end of my contract, and I was just I was again I was had things going on in my life personally.
Hmm.
I started a business years prior, and I was really trying to get that up and focus on that. I was having my first son was being born, and so I had a lot going on, and it just put a bad taste in my mouth. They kept lying to me, mainly Johnny Ace.
Hmm.
When they bought WCW, he took over talent relations with JR, which I have no idea how and why that happened because Johnny Ace is a piece of shit liar.
Hmm.
And he lied to me all the time. I did a tag match with Sean O'Hare, and he was like, and of course I'm going, and that was another gimmick. I said, we're high school. That's a cool. We're
Mm-hmm.
high school. We're friends. We hung out. That would be a cool thing to do. And he goes, and he said, y'all look great together. We want to put you in tag and put you on house shows. And I'm like, great. And he said, I'll be in touch. And a week went by and he wasn't in touch. So I called and it was like, I had just a run around and it just went from there. And
Mm-hmm.
there was other things I don't need to get into, but it went from there. And I just started getting more and more disgruntled with it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's like, I felt like I was on this yo-yo,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I need to go do other things. I got other things happening. So with them, I just kept, and it would be weird because it's like they'd be interested.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wouldn't hear from them. And it was like the last thing I did, um, was I think it was my match with John Cena. I think was the last dark match I had with them,
Mm-hmm.
and it was probably close to a year. And at that point, I go, okay, you know what? I'm just I'm tired of all the lies and just whatever. If you don't have anything, I got to move on. I got stuff going on. I got to focus on my life and what's happening. And so I'd pretty much just given up. I'd stopped working out. I put all my focus in my business and was just being an
Mm-hmm.
everyday civilian uh, kind of thing. And I just not really watching what I mean. And I was out of shape and I was ring rust. Well, I get a call from Howard Finkel on a random Sunday night, if I could be in somewhere in Canada on Monday for Raw. And I'm like, I knew it was a payday regardless. And I get to see the boys and see some of my friends and stuff. So I was like, I'm going. Of course I'm
Yeah.
going with no anticipation of like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I get there and then they tell me about doing this Katie Vick interview. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I would watch wrestling, I'd peep in and see some stuff. And I was like, and I saw that and I was like, why are they using my name for this storyline? Like I had no idea. And this
Mm-hmm.
was, for almost a year. Well, I don't know if the storyline was a year, but a year I'd been out, not involved. But I think it was like the last, like before they contacted me, been like a couple months,
Yeah.
they were using this name. And I was like, oh, all the names, why are they using my name? I'm not there anymore. And I just thought it was kind of weird, but I was like, just very bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I found out they wanted me to be her brother. And it was like, you know, okay, great
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And that's when they told me, they said I had to cut a promo on that situation and about how, Katie Vick was the best friend to my sister was the best friend to Kane and how
Mm-hmm.
everybody was afraid of him as this monster, but my sister befriended him and was the only person that gave him any time of day. And he 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 uh he betrayed her and the line was something like he took advantage of her when she was alive or dead,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Because it was the whole necrophilia
Yeah.
gimmick, which is like, unfortunately, it's like my only real claim to infamous fame is that damn Katie Vick thing, because it's by far probably the worst
Mm-hmm.
storyline in wrestling history. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's what I want to, have attached to me. Um, but they were like, yeah, we'll cut that promo, but you're going to run down in a match against Kane and Triple H. And I can't remember who. I obviously going to go after Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally that's all they told me, and I was just like, okay. I mean, I could do this. But then they ended up and they scrapped it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I'm like, well, they scrapped it because it was just so bad. At least that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking in my head. I was like, this is just okay. It makes sense. It's bad. Let's scrap it. It was only later, years later, that I saw an interview with Bruce Pritchard, and he was throwing shade on me, using me as a scapegoat, going, "Well, Scott Vick showed up for a tryout match, and he was just out of shape, and the match was bad, so we ended the storyline." I'm like, bullshit. That storyline was going on. I had nothing to do with that storyline, other than I had no idea anybody's going to use me. And see, this is
Mm-hmm.
the thing people don't know. Like I said, I've been off for almost a year. I was
Yeah.
done with it. And it's like, maybe had you smartened me up,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you in 3 or 4 weeks, I'd have been in shape,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Absolutely.
There's no question about it. And I won't disagree. I know I wasn't in the best shape and I probably didn't have the best match because I'd not been in the ring in almost a year. So there's no doubt about that. But don't say I'm the scapegoat or I'm the reason for ending
Mm-hmm.
that storyline. No, it was just bad. And they were again like the Valvinas catching huge backlash
Mm-hmm.
and just this blowback from sponsors and losing sponsors.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, here we go again with that. And then it was just actually just a couple years ago, I read and listened to a Tommy Dreamer interview where Tommy Dreamer said that they wanted to culminate that into me versus Hunter at WrestleMania as a featured match. And he was on the booking committee, and they said they had to tell Vince that I wasn't with the company anymore. Like he didn't even know. I'm like, I found that hard to believe because uh, Vince was very vocal with me and would watch my match, would say stuff to me, and was like I said, was very much anything. He's very protective. They wanted me to do some stuff like side stuff, like they wanted me to break up or be involved in like a security thing with Undertaker and Austin when they were doing their feud. And
Mm-hmm.
Vince and Shane saw me sitting there listening to it when they were going over it before they taped it. And Shane walked up and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, so and so told me to come and be this extra for the security thing. And Vince came over and Shane told him, and they said, "No, you're not doing that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
go." I mean, to me, that said, okay, I've got some value here
Yeah.
because if they didn't care or weren't thinking something for me, they would just throw me in there, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
to do it. And so he kind of, and he would talk to me when I'd see him, and he would have, oh, we'll got to forget something, and it all seemed very positive. So I was very surprised when that came out because Vince had a really tight grip on the business and knowing everything about it to not know I wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's your plans, don't you think I should be included in that to know,
Yeah.
especially, I mean, forget the other pay-per-view, but
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania with
Mm-hmm.
Hunter, again,
Mm-hmm.
that's like top of the line. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
but that was the real last any type of dealings with WWF.
After that, you already had started a business and did you know that professional wrestling was something you were walking away from after that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I did some stuff, but it was like I don't know, I got such, like I said, a bad taste in my mouth
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, I think I needed a break, and I've been going so long, just even, I started working out seriously at like 14, 15 years old for football, and that's all I'd done my entire life. I mean, I had no other job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I bounced and I did things like that, but I had no legitimate job. I mean, I made my living as a professional athlete, and it was like, um, yeah. So and all the work that you have to put into that in the day to day, and especially back then. I mean, my gosh, now they're wrestling what 70,
Mm-hmm.
70 matches a year,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and we did quite a bit more.
Yeah.
And they got RVs and these big buses they travel on and really nice setup and I know the grass is always greener and everybody has their problems, but it's like yeah, I know one thing that it was a lot different in terms of just
Mm-hmm.
our work volume compared to now for sure. But I had just been worn out.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I wasn't on TV, a lot of people don't realize like I was still working.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing these art matches. I was doing house shows that I went to Memphis, went to MCW because I dislocated my jaw, and I was down there for probably I think like 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
getting after that healed to get back into ring shape. And actually, they said they wanted to work on a character thing down there, and we pushed that and did that. So it's like, I mean, you're just constantly going. So yeah, that time I was just like, you know what, I need to change of pace. I was like at 30, 31, and I was just like, I want to focus on something a little different. I just, like I said, the business with them buying WCW and Johnny Ace being in control like he
Hmm.
was, I was just like, I don't want anything to do with him. I don't want anything to do with that with them at the time.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I pretty much just focused on what I needed to do for me.
And how has life been after mainstream wrestling?
I mean, good, no complaints, better than I deserve. I mean, everybody's got their their ups and downs and things that they deal with. But it's been good.
I seen you did a convention appearance not too long ago. How was that?
Good. It was bad because I was so out of shape for that as well. Because I kind of got into a point because I had gotten in really really good shape, and then I got to a point again where I was kind of like, oh man, I just I'm
Hmm.
52 now. I've been busting my butt being in shape, and I just did the whole I'm not gonna. Oh, I had walking pneumonia that kind of set it off for me, where I was
Hmm.
like kind of got lax and started just eating what I wanted to eat, and I was like
Hmm.
not working out, and so that was a negative. The positive was it was great seeing the reunion with the flock and those guys. I'd stayed in touch with Lodi pretty much on a regular. We were
Hmm.
friends, and I traveled with him a lot when I was in WCW, um, and Riggs as well. We had lost touch right before he went through all of his, all of his issues before
Hmm.
he, Bagwell reached out to him and stuff and got him up to Atlanta with Paige. But yeah, it was great seeing all those guys and just kind of great, to get back into that mainstream again.
Are
Yeah.
you planning on doing like other conventions or dipping your toe back into doing more wrestling appearances now?
Yeah, no, I will. I've definitely, been talking to some people and wanted to get back into, I'm open to doing whatever conventions are out there, and anybody that wants to have me, I'm more than happy to do it. So it's like trying to get back in there, and I'm really I'm getting back into shape,
Hmm.
regardless of whether I ever walk in a ring again. I'm
Hmm.
I'm 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 doing that, but I'm not ruling out going once I get back into shape, maybe possibly get another. Because I mean, I can still move, I can still do stuff, and I'm like, as long as I can go and look good,
Hmm.
or pretty good and still move fluid and everything looks pretty solid, I'll have no problem doing it. I just don't want to be out there kind of going through the motions,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So we'll see. I don't know.
Where can
But
people
yeah,
reach out
it's
to you?
that never say never kind of
Oh
thing,
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Where can
Yeah.
people reach out to you at?
Facebook and Instagram. But on Facebook, I'm just under my name, Scott Vick.
Mhm.
But you can't miss it because I got the sick boy emblem up there so you can find it. And then on Instagram, it's Scott Sick Boy um, uh, Vic at WCW WWE.
If you had any advice to give to anybody getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
Don't. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. um, uh, it's hard because being out of it so long because it's changed so much from when
Hmm.
I went in. Um, yeah, I mean, my gosh, WCW or WWE now recruits people.
Hmm.
You can go, it's almost like give your resume, especially if you were a college athlete or something, and they'll bring you in. And so it's so different, but it's like, and again, it's so different from their schedule. I mean, not to
Yeah.
take away from what they do because it's hard, regardless of, and I know every generation, so, back in the day, the guys were, it was much more difficult. And you start
Hmm.
getting into TV and now it starts changing, so I understand that when I say these things, but, it's still tough no matter whether you are 70 matches a year or 260 or 300 matches a year. Um, it's hard. It's hard on the
Hmm.
body, and it's something you got to really love. It's like anything you do. You have to really love it to do it because it's not an easy lifestyle, especially traveling all the time. It's hard
Yeah.
if you got family.
Hmm.
Not everyone understands it. And it's a true passion and love. But if it's your goal and it's what you want to do and that's your dream, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Had people through my life, and I was very gifted in a lot of ways, tell me I can't. Are you crazy? You're going to leave football and go do
Hmm.
wrestling? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like I just had the confidence in myself that I knew I could do it. So it's whatever it is. I don't care if it's wrestling or anything. If that's your goal, don't let people throw up roadblocks, knock them down,
Hmm. I could not
and
agree
do it.
more.
Yeah, you got to. But just know, I mean, it's like the wrestling thing. It's tough, but it's rewarding.
Hmm.
And get trained. It would be well, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you can't get in to the developmental at WWE, get trained by somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, learn the right way to work. Go see
Hmm.
Lodi up at Team Fearless up there.
Hmm.
His training, he does a really good job, and you teach people the right way. He has small things where your feet need to be just on a headlock, and
Hmm.
when you're scooping somebody up, scoop underneath their head and protect them.
Oh yeah.
But get trained the right way.
I just want to say thank you for taking the time out today. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling, sir. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on and talk a little bit about your career.
Sure, man. I appreciate it too.
And if there's ever anything that I can do, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, yeah, same.